still engage in politics, but through a different language. Someone may ask, well, what are you doing here at the university since you're a retiree? I don't teach, I preach. That is, I try to present the truth as clearly as possible to see whether my students, at least 2 or 3 out of 30 or 40, pay attention to the fact that we have to rebuild our society. Argentina is a global experiment. If you read a book by any foreign author assessing Argentina back in 1910, you will frequently read, and I quote the people, Roscoe, for example, the American author. I might quote the French authority that visited with us in the first centennial. If there are 2 countries in the world that may be a true power, one is the United States of America, and the other is Argentina. That's what these authors said back then in 1910. One was the United States of America, and the other was Argentina. And this is said by this American author and others, with an additional advantage to Argentina. It has no such problem as racial discrimination, which is scourging the USA. The sense of equality prevails among us. The one who comes here is just one more inhabitant, and that 1910 vision was exaggerated, but not of wrong people. What has happened so that we may emulate the USA by being a Latin power? Why didn't that take place? This may be accounted for by different reasons. On the one hand, this speech was written back in 1853 in a book called The National Constitution of the Argentine Republic, which the preceding speaker mentioned. That was back in 1853. In 1869, we had to come out of the marshland. Landowners were a few, and there was plenty of land, and therefore landowners became liberal. They said, let's bring vagabonds, unemployed people from Europe to establish the country. In just a period of 40 years, we increased from 1 million inhabitants to 11 or 12 million inhabitants in 1910. I know a few examples of countries that have increased their population at that rate, except for the case of Western Berlin and Eastern Berlin. One became populated out of people jumping the Berlin Wall. But the civil code had a trick in it. The trick was the insertion of private property law of Roman origin.
Mercancía.
Land was merchandise, a sort of good that you could buy and sell wherever you want to. And if you bought land, you bought it for good. This made land abandoned, population was scarce. In Italian language, they said, "Facciamo per fare l'America." We go to America because America is a promising land where we are going to prosper. 1916, Rostow saying that there were 2 big countries at the time, the United States or Argentina. That civil code included the seeds of evil. Because when European protectionism came in the 1930s, immigration streams diminished in Argentina, and there was no land value capture. We lived on export-import rights. In 1932, the Argentinian Congress had to solve a dilemma: where to go, this way or the other way? Do we support land value capture, or we impose taxation on jobs. Of course, Argentina was made of landowners, and in 1942 they accepted this sort of taxation. Of course, it contained the seeds of evil. We created the Internal Revenue Service in Argentina, a government agency that is beyond the Constitution. And it goes against the Constitution because in Article 18, no one is obliged to declare against himself. There's no self-incrimination. But the Internal Revenue Service of Argentina forced citizens to self-incriminate them. And of course, they had to disclose information on books of account. It was sacred to maintain the confidentiality of books of account ever since the times of Luca Pacioli. But we have also now a tax on presumptive income, and we have two results out of this. Number one, as regards taxation, Professor Margarita, who is not here present, listed 85 taxes on job, investments, and consumption. This is a stumbling block in the life of human beings. The slogan is, if you work, you will die. Just keep quiet, and no one is going to make inquiries into your own accounts. And this leads to totalitarian regimes, of course, very measures that are based on solidarity to give subsidies and grants, to allow tenants to remain in leased property, etc. I think that Argentina has a wonderful people, because in the times of 1789 in France, the French people were very different, but the Argentinian people is living as people used to live in the times of Plato's caves. And why are Argentinians like this? Because they have learned to act in this manner, because they have been trained and educated in different houses of higher education, like the one we are now. And literate men support and advocate for these ideas. This is a mass reproduction of cells as it happens in human body. We have slums and shanty towns. Villa 31, the shanty town number 31, is an epitome of these squatter settlements. Illiteracy, poverty, but they build, for instance, houses that are 2- or 3-storied buildings. So the guy lives on the ground floor, and then he rents or leases first, second, or third floor. So, of course, maybe they are exactly like rich people. They are speculating on land, and they have created ideas whereby everyone is criticizing taxes levied by the government. But when somebody says taxes are against us, let's ask for taxation to be deleted. It is exactly as if I told a Jew to become a Christian, and they say, no, I cannot do that. and vice versa. When we say, let's not pay taxes, I know, no, wait a second, I'm not telling not to pay taxes. I'm saying not to pay unfair taxes. And of course, we are losing sight of the problem. And what I would like to tell you, bottom line, is the following. We do not have an intellectual mission. We have a mission to spread the gospel, to spread the good news. Warning, if you spread the good news, the Gospels, doesn't mean that they are going to welcome you. Martyrs of history give an account of this. But men of high moral must commit themselves to perform this mission, to spread the good news.